they couldn't have trees on that farm, so they wouldn't be able to farm anything. Right here where you're staying is the battle ring. It's the meeting place of the town. It was the center of town. It's where they graze their cattle, so it did not look as nice and green as it does now. It was more like a muddy brown. But
Lexington was a dairy later on. Very farming.
So I don't know if you can see it, but if you look, if you see the stone pulpit down there, that is where the meeting house stood. It was a large thin wooden house, covered most of that front part of the green, and it's where they had church on Sunday, every Sunday for about 8 hours. It's also where they sold the gunpowder and had town meeting. Yes, gunpowder in a thin wooden house, not the best idea, but as far as I know, it never blew up from the gunpowder. It burned down somewhat. There was also the belfry. Oh, you can't see there right now, but if you look, it's behind that big tree. It's,
yeah.
I mean, right now it does rest down. It rests up there on the hill, but it was situated down there, right by the meeting house.
And had a bell in it.
Yep, had a bell in it, and they rang it
picture of it in your handout that I took.
And it was run for fires and also for to get the militiamen to conglomerate on the ground. So the goal of the Redcoats, the British, was to get Concord, which is down there, and I believe you guys will be going there later today, to find municipal supplies that they sort of were hidden there. Because they thought they were going to start a revolution, a rebellion, and they wanted to stop that from happening by taking the supplies so they couldn't do anything. And the goal of the militiamen was to prove that they would defend their territory if it were to be attacked, if the Redcoats were going to attack them. So the Redcoats came marching from that direction, Bay Road, all the way from Boston, about 20 miles I think, something like that. I'm not sure about this exactly. So a little bit about their march. As many might know, they took the water route across.
One if I land, two if I sea.
Yep, one if I land, two if I sea, and the other turtle. Yep, it's a poem. So they took the water route across. And and on the other side of the water route, there was swampland. So they crossed the Charles River and landed in swampland. So they were waist deep in swamp water, soaking wet, and not very happy. They also were not told why they were marching. They were just told to march, because it was a secret mission, and they didn't know why they were marching. They didn't know what their goal was. So they were not very happy, which I think is part of the reason why they fired the militiamen. Just a side note. So the militiamen lined up between this gray rock, right there behind me, right by the bench, and the obelisk, which is right here. There were anywhere from 35 to 80 of them, probably somewhere around 77. And they were facing anywhere from 700 to 800 Redcoats. Probably around 750. So not good odds for a fight, but luckily they did not want to start one. Only to get fired upon. So the Redcoats came marching up, saw the militiamen standing there, and told them to disperse. Because they were in their way and they didn't want them there. And the militiamen did that, so they were standing there for a little bit, just to prove their point that they would defend themselves. So they were all walking back to their houses, when all of a sudden a shot rang out. We don't know who fired it, or whether it was fired accidentally or on purpose. We believe it was an accidental shot from behind Buckley Tavern or something. We have no idea, and we never will know unless it's at a time issue. Which is not going to happen anytime soon. So that shot went off, and it set the Redcoats firing volleys of militiamen. They killed 10 militiamen, 1 guy from Woburn, and wounded 10. Side note about the guy from Woburn. His name was Ashel Porter, and they had captured him earlier in the day. And they told him, "You can go, we're letting you go, but if you run away, we're going to shoot you." So him, being smart, decided to run away from the Redcoats. I mean, I probably would have done that too, because they're pretty scary. And he got shot. So the 10 militiamen are buried right there behind the memorial, or underneath the memorial. They were originally buried behind the church back there in the old burying ground, but they were re-entombed here. I'm not sure when.
1799, I think.
But that's when the memorial was built. I'm not sure when they were moved.
Oh, okay. I read it someplace.
But I could have been 1799. That makes sense.
1835 is another date that sticks in my mind, so it's one of those two. Anyway, we don't know.
Something like that, yeah. So after this battle, they continued on to Concord. They had ended up not finding any supplies there because the militiamen in Concord had warning from riders like Paul Revere and William Dawes and Samuel Prescott. Samuel Prescott was the only one that actually made it to Concord to warn them. William Dawes and Paul Revere were captured around here, and weren't able to get there.
We're going to drive by the capture zone.
Yeah, that's cool. Nice to see. So then they had their encounter at the Old North Bridge, which is a shot around the world, which also refers to the shot here. It does refer to both of them, which I did not know previously before this job, which I thought was interesting. And then they had their retreat back. Only about 250 of the 700 that the red coach that went out actually made it back to Boston because of the tactics we used. 250
Out of 750?
Yeah, out of 700 to 800, some number, which we're not sure about.
Right.
And the reason so many of them died was because we were using guerrilla warfare tactics, which we had learned from the Native Americans to fight them. They were used to having two lines, one line here and one line here, and you fight at each other. We didn't use those tactics. We hid behind trees, stone walls, fired at them, and made them very unhappy and very scared. So most of them were sprinting back to Boston. That's all I had. Any questions?
Great.
Now, we passed by the Hancock Park house. Did you see that on the way?
The orangey house.
I like the
yellow
angle
orangey.
to the road. That's what helped
Yes,
me. Like, that's the one that's not
the angle
facing
to
the road.
Right. And that's where
John Adams.
John Hancock and Samuel Adams
Samuel
were staying.
Adams. And that's where Paul Revere and William Dawes were riding
Yep.
to alert them. And then ultimately decided that that's probably not who they were trying to capture.
We believe they had no knowledge. The Redcoats had no knowledge that Paul Revere, that John Hancock and Sam Adams were there, but they just wanted to get them to get out because if they were captured, then there would have been no revolution. They would have died. John Hancock was the brains, and Sam Adams was the mind.
So this is a tavern. That's Buckman Tavern over there, and the Redcoats were called, and then they waited. Right?
The militiamen, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, they said the
Okay.
Redcoats. Good heavens. Because Revere arrived around midnight,
Yeah.
and the Redcoats came around 5.
Yeah.
So they hung out. I don't know that they drank, but that's the problem.
They did have a few drinks. They had some liquid courage.
It's still working.
It's open for tours, but unfortunately there's no.
That's what I wanted. Gary already asked if they were serving beer, but they are.
Well, no, this has like naps and stuff for me to have.
Okay.
And they wouldn't.
Paddles the whole thing.
I mean, well, they would have had like a powder horn and some other stuff, so they probably wouldn't have.